was a false assumption that these are separated. It's totally scientifically proven that your spirit and your mind and your body are 100% connected. All right. Now, cultural knowledge, indigenous wisdom passed through generations was systematically devalued. So the indigenous people in America, they totally devalued their history for thousands and thousands of years. Rebel, like you were talking about, Africans who came here, totally got rid of their whole system of healing and herbs and all this. And then they took them to another country where their tradition, what they traditionally grew, was no longer there. So they had to change their epigenetic makeup to be able to deal with a new food source and food supply. All right. And now this is what I'm trying to do, is this integrative understanding. When is conventional medicine beneficial and when is it not? When do we need to start looking at other forms of healing? So it's these complex healing systems reduced to unscientific by mainstream medicine. And that's what they're trying to do now. But I really have faith that more and more people are talking about the things that I'm talking about. I started talking about this 25, 30 years ago when we wrote those two books. Is there's another way to think about medicine other than the way I was taught. All right. So I believe more people are waking up and realizing that these drugs didn't do anything. I'll tell you when I realized it, when I saw my parents, how they lived the last 10 years of their life taking a bunch of medications, and I saw that how their body deteriorated. And that is when I started this journey of I'm going to be different. I'm not going to be declining when I'm in my 60s. I want to be on an incline. I feel more alive now at 64 than I probably did at 44. I feel wiser. I feel more energetic than I ever have because I have more wisdom. I have more understanding. All right. So let's keep going. I get on these tangents and I keep going. So let's go to the next one. All right. So lost knowledge, herbalism, mind-body connection, nutritional medicine, food as a healing modality, natural healing system supporting the body's resilience. I told you these Africans, they were resilient because they had built up their bodies from eating the foods that they naturally grew in this tropical climate. All right. And that's why they survived in the South, because they were used to a tropical climate. All right. When they tried to enslave the Irish and people from the northern hemispheres, they could not stand the heat of the South. And so all of this resiliency is made up naturally. Your body is more resilient when you are eating things that are natural. All right. So let's go. Let's go to the next one. So the rise in functional medicine, I really do believe this. People are waking up to what's going on. So in functional medicine, we're trying to find the root cause. And I'll tell you, the two books that we wrote, Are Your Hormones Making You Sick? As you age, hormones and hormone balance are a lot of the time are the root cause of a lot of problems, especially in women and in men. Women having bleeding issues, have hysterectomies, having difficulty getting pregnant, all of these things, a lot of them are based in the root cause of hormone imbalances. And I'll talk a lot about that. We talked about saliva testing last week and how you can measure hormones. And then the next one, the root cause is stress. I've said this over and over again. I'll probably always say it in the podcast, is that 75 to 90% of all visits to primary care physicians are for stress-related complaints or disorders. Now, that was a study that I read 30 years ago and prompted us to write the book, The Stress Connection. Now, it's probably 95% of all visits to primary care physicians over stress-related complaints or disorders. And the more I talk to patients, the more I'm convinced it's 95%, especially in this chaotic world that we're living in right now. So if we could understand stress and understand hormones, we could eliminate the root cause of a lot of diseases and a lot of conditions. All right. So we want to view the body as interconnected networks. We are connected with each other, and that's the quantum physics theory that we'll talk about. Okay, we'll graduate up to that. We want to start at the basics, but we are all connected. We're connected to nature. That's why plants can do things that affect the human body, because we're all connected, and that the body it knows what to do with these herbs and these plants, and how to digest natural foods, and not and it doesn't know how to digest processed foods. So we want to understand that we are connected, and that we have to stay connected to nature in order for us to thrive. Now people are wanting personalized treatment. I talk about you cannot manage what you cannot measure. You need to be able to measure your hormones. You need to be able to measure your cortisol and your stress levels. You need to be able to measure your gut microbiome. You need to be able to measure whether or not you have food sensitivities. So all these things you need to measure so that we can personalize what is best for you. Everybody is different. You can look around. Everybody looks different. They look different heights, different colors, different sexes. That everybody's different. So you cannot do a one size fits all. It's been proven over and over again. You cannot give the same thing, even when you're talking about natural or holistic medicine. You cannot give the same thing to everybody. I see this in hormone replacement. They're giving the same thing to everybody. You cannot do that. It does not work. All right. And we want to combine evidence-based conventional and traditional approaches. Again, I'm not anti-conventional medicine. We have cancer patients that do chemo and radiation, and we just try to support them and help them to be resilient so they can withstand the treatment. We give IV vitamin C prior to surgery so that their body is more likely to heal. It's going to make the tissue stronger and healthier so that it can heal. So there's things you can do to build up your resilience so that you can withstand conventional treatments. You can withstand the stressors of life. You have to try and be resilient. You have to be able to be resilient through change, because everything is changing. The only thing that is consistent is change. And you have to be resilient in order to withstand change. We understand that we change presidents, we change, the weather changes every day, our environment changes. You have to be able to get through and go through these changes that are inevitable in life. I'm going through a change. Everybody's telling me it's time, it's 65, aren't you going to retire? No, I'm not going to go through that change. I'm going to make a conscious choice that I'm going to try and be productive till the day I die. I may be doing podcasts in the ICU when I'm taking my last breath. I'm going to tell you, that the problem with popular thinking is that it doesn't require you to think at all. I'll tell you that we cannot keep thinking the way that we're thinking in order to change our health. All right. Do I have another slide?